The moment a super empath stops reacting is the moment the entire dynamic collapses. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, almost invisibly. And that quiet is what disturbs the narcissist most, because they were never afraid of your anger. Anger they can use. Anger they can twist into a story where you are the unstable one. What they fear is your stillness, your calm, your refusal to be pulled into the storm, your ability to look at them with full understanding and choose deliberately not to participate. That is the language they cannot manipulate. That is the response they were never trained to handle. To challenge a narcissist like a super empath, you do not raise your voice. You raise your awareness. You stop trying to win arguments that were designed to drain you. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop offering depth to those who only know how to consume it. And in that refusal, something powerful awakens, something that does not need their acknowledgement to feel real. Because the truth is, the more you try to be understood by someone who benefits from misunderstanding you, the more of yourself you lose. And the empath's journey is, at its core, the journey of finally choosing themselves without apology. Highly empathetic people often become targets because their nervous system is wired for connection. They notice pain in others and instinctively move toward it. They believe deep down that love can heal almost anything, and that if they just give a little more, understand a little more, forgive a little more, the other person will finally soften. This belief is not weakness. It is one of the most beautiful qualities a human can possess. But in the presence of someone who weaponizes empathy, that beauty becomes a vulnerability. The manipulator learns quickly that your guilt can be triggered, your compassion can be hijacked, your sense of responsibility can be inflated. And so they pull on those threads again and again until you no longer recognize your own reflection. What most empaths never realize is that their exhaustion is not a sign that they have failed. It is a signal from a deeper intelligence inside them, telling them that something in the dynamic is fundamentally unbalanced. The fatigue is data. The resentment is data. The quiet dread you feel before certain conversations is data. Your body has been keeping a record long before your mind was ready to accept it. And the moment you start trusting that record instead of dismissing it, you begin reclaiming an authority over your life that you may have never fully owned. If this is resonating with you, take a second right now and subscribe to this channel. Turn on the notifications. Because everything we explore here, from emotional manipulation to boundary mastery to the psychology of resilience, is meant to give you a deeper understanding of yourself, your relationships, and the unseen forces shaping your emotional world. This is the kind of content you will come back to during the quiet hours, when you need to remember who you are. There is a specific transformation that occurs when an empath becomes self-aware. The world stops being a place where they are constantly absorbing other people's emotional weather and starts becoming a place where they choose deliberately what they allow into their inner space. This is not coldness. It is not detachment in the dismissive sense. It is the maturity of someone who has finally learned that you cannot pour from a soul that is being slowly emptied by people who refuse to refill it. And once you understand this, your relationships begin to filter themselves. Some people drift away. Some people get louder in their attempts to pull you back. And some people, the rare ones, finally meet you at the level you have grown into. When a narcissist senses that their usual methods are no longer working, they cycle through predictable strategies. First, they intensify the charm, often returning to the version of themselves you first fell for, hoping to remind you of the emotional investment you have already made. When that does not work, they shift to provocation, trying to anger you, destabilize you, get you to react in a way that confirms their narrative. When that fails, they may move to victimhood, painting themselves as misunderstood, abandoned, hurt by your supposed coldness. And finally, when none of these work, they often discard, pretending they never needed you in the first place. Each of these stages is a performance designed to restore the emotional supply you used to provide, and each of them loses its power the moment you stop performing in return. The most underrated psychological skill in the modern world is the ability to remain calm while someone is actively trying to provoke you. This is not suppression. This is not pretending. This is the disciplined awareness that your peace is more valuable than your point. When you stop arguing with people who twist your words, you are not losing the conversation. You are removing yourself from a game that was never designed for you to win. The narcissist's arguments are not meant to reach truth. They are meant to exhaust you into compliance. And the moment you recognize that, you stop trying to convince them and start preserving yourself instead. Boundaries are often misunderstood as walls, but they are not walls. Walls keep everyone out. Boundaries simply teach people how to interact with you. A boundary is not a punishment. It is not revenge. It is the clear, calm, unapologetic expression of what you will and will not accept in your life. And one of the most painful realizations for empaths is that the people most upset by your boundaries are often the people who benefited most from your lack of them. Their anger is not evidence that your boundary is wrong. It is evidence that your boundary is working. The discomfort they feel is the same discomfort you carried for years while accommodating them. And it is not your responsibility to carry it any longer. There is a deep psychological pattern in many empaths that comes from early life experiences where love had to be earned through emotional labor. If you grew up sensing the moods of the adults around you, adjusting yourself to keep peace, becoming the emotional thermostat of your household, you may have learned that your worth was tied to how useful you were to others. That conditioning does not disappear in adulthood. It just changes shape. It becomes the inability to say no, the guilt that floods you when you disappoint someone, the urge to fix what was never yours to fix. Healing this pattern requires recognizing it without shame, understanding that the part of you that overgives was once trying to protect you, and gently teaching that part of you that you are safe now, that love does not have to be earned through self-erasure. Detaching from validation is one of the most liberating shifts an empath can make. For most of your life, you may have measured your worth by how others responded to you. A kind word lifted you. A cold reaction crushed you. A withdrawal of attention sent you spiraling into self-doubt. But when you begin to root your sense of value in your own awareness, in your own integrity, in your own internal alignment, something profound happens. You stop needing the approval of people who were never qualified to define you. You stop chasing acknowledgement from those who profit from your uncertainty. And in that independence, you finally find the version of yourself that was always there, waiting underneath the noise. Protecting your emotional energy is not selfish. It is sacred. The world has conditioned empathetic people to feel guilty for choosing themselves, as if rest is a betrayal, as if silence is rejection, as if distance is cruelty. But the truth is, you cannot be a source of light to anyone if you are constantly being consumed by people who only know how to take. Choosing yourself is not abandoning others. It is finally arriving for the one person you have abandoned the most, which is you. The super empath is not someone without wounds. The super empath is someone who has finally stopped letting their wounds make their decisions. They feel everything, but they are no longer ruled by what they feel. They understand their triggers without being controlled by them. They recognize manipulation without becoming bitter. They see the pain in others without inheriting it. They love deeply without losing themselves. And they walk away from what no longer aligns with them without needing to explain, justify, or perform their reasons. This is the part of your journey where everything begins to change. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. The same situations that once shook you now barely move you. The same people who once controlled your moods now have no entry point. The same patterns that once trapped you now appear obvious. almost transparent, as if a veil has been lifted from your perception. And the strangest part is, this transformation does not feel like becoming someone new. It feels like becoming who you always were, beneath the conditioning, beneath the fear, beneath the years of accommodating people who never accommodated you. Before we move into the final stretch, if this script is speaking directly to something inside you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This work matters. Your growth matters. And the more you surround yourself with content that reinforces your awareness, the harder it becomes for old patterns to pull you back. You deserve an inner world that supports the person you are becoming. True emotional power does not look like aggression. It does not look like revenge. It does not look like proving anyone wrong. True emotional power looks like a person who can hear an insult without flinching, who can witness manipulation without participating in it, who can love without losing themselves, who can leave without explaining, who can stay silent without feeling defeated. It is the quiet strength of someone who has stopped outsourcing their peace to people who were never capable of protecting it. And once you taste that kind of strength, you will never again confuse it with the loudness the world tries to sell you. The deepest freedom is not the freedom from difficult people. It is the freedom from needing their behavior to change in order for you to be okay. When you stop waiting for the apology that may never come, when you stop hoping the manipulator will finally see the light, when you stop holding your healing hostage to their transformation, you free yourself in a way nothing external can replicate. You become unreachable to the kind of pain that used to define you. Not because you have hardened, but because you have grown so rooted in yourself that the storms simply pass through without uprooting you. You are not too sensitive. You were never too much. You were surrounded by people who were too little for the depth you carry. And the moment you stop trying to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never built for your light, you begin to understand the real purpose of your sensitivity. It was never a flaw, it was a compass. It was always trying to lead you toward alignment, toward truth, toward the version of your life that honors who you actually are. So when you challenge a narcissist like a super empath, you do it with silence that speaks louder than their accusations. You do it with boundaries that do not bend under guilt. You do it with a calm that cannot be shaken by their performance. You do it with the unwavering knowledge that your peace is not negotiable, your worth is not up for debate, and your energy is not available for consumption. You do it not to defeat them, but to finally choose yourself, because the real victory was never about them. It was always about coming home to you. And as you walk forward from this moment, carry this with you. Your empathy is not a weakness to manage. It is a strength to master. Your sensitivity is not a burden to apologize for. It is a gift to